People are alike all over, Season 1, Episode 25 of the Twilight Zone. Guess what? Some astronauts are crash landing into a planet. They're on a trip to Mars, but they don't quite get to their destination. We get two characters, Warren Marcusson and Samuel Conrad. Mr. Warren gets very injured during this crash landing on this planet. And really, he serves to just give us the tagline of the series. He tells Conrad that people are alike all over, and Conrad disagrees. He thinks people are very, very different, and if they meet an alien species, which they're about to meet, it'll be much different from humans. So who will end up being right? Well, Markston dies, so Conrad is left to his own devices. And I do like the set of this as well. It actually looks like a spaceship that crashed. They inverted things a little bit, so it almost looks like you're looking at some of the wires and monitors and chairs upside down. So many times in these sci-fi series, the spaceship looks just perfectly pristine. Even after it crash lands, it's just a few pieces fall on the ground. But no, this one really sets the scene. And we are going to get to exit this spaceship as well. They spend some time talking, then Markson dies. And then Conrad opens up the door and is greeted with a toga party. That's right, these are what the aliens look like. Something out of a Greek tragedy. And what do you know, these aliens are actually very nice. He's gone back in time to the 2nd century BC, during the heyday of the Roman Empire. His eyes immediately get attracted to a girl named Tinya, who begins to do some light flirting with him, but she's not really reciprocating the same amount of love that he's giving back to her, but she's giving him a little wink and a nod. Like, maybe you play your cards right, you might be able to get this alien body. She's played by Susan Oliver, who was a TV actress, and I mean literally a TV actress. She was in everything from The Millionaire to The Lineup to Alcolo Theater. And the main character, Sam Conrad, the only living astronaut from this downed spaceship, is played by Roddy McDowall, who was in 1963's Cleopatra as Octavian, Fright Night as Peter Vincent, and Conquest of the Planet of the Apes as Caesar. And as we know, Rod Serling wrote the original Planet of the Apes. So they are very nice to him and take him into this house. We actually don't get to see what the city looks like. They kind of play with us and hint that we might get to see what this alien city looks like. But unfortunately, we never do, because this one does have a really good twist, and it plays until the title. People are alike all over. So they've built this nice house for him. It's definitely not a prison, it's a house that has all the amenities he will need. Some sleeping quarters, a refrigerator, free food, amazing wine. And he thanks them for how nice they're being to him. The episode keeps getting better as it goes on. There's a time when they first crash land and he's talking to Warren. That's a little slow because you're not sure if they're ever going to make it out of this spaceship. But once they do, get to talk to these people, and then moves to the next scene where he gets put into this house. And then we get the reveal at the end, and I will spoil this episode. People are indeed alike all over. Well, he's in a zoo. He realizes that there's no windows and that the doors are locked. They've locked him in here. This is after he talked to Tenya and asked her if she was going to be able to see him again. And we do see some genuine connection between Samuel and Tenya. And it seems like she did care about him after all. She didn't care about him enough to save him, but she kind of winks and nods and goes, yeah, sure, I'll see you later. Then runs off. And so after trying to get out of this house, they pull all the curtains down. He is in a cage. Just the way that we cage animals in a zoo, he's now the human attraction for this alien colony, and Tenya's there trying not to cry because she actually did care for him. So people are indeed alike all over, and wow, what a surprising twist. One that works so well. It makes complete sense. They're being nice to him. They disarm him. They take his gun away from him. They build him this nice house, quote unquote, but really, he's their human specimen. They're the aliens, and they're here to observe him. Hard not to compare it to something like the episode To Serve Man, where you just don't know exactly what these aliens are thinking. This is a good episode. I'm going to give it a very high 6. It's close to a 7. This is such an intriguing concept. I wish we knew more about these aliens, since that was the most interesting part. They're appearing to us as Romans. We don't know what their city looks like. We're not exactly sure what their culture is. It's all a bit up in the air, but I do love the ending and the brief amount of romance between Samuel and Tenya. Maybe they could make a sequel to this where she tries to break him out of this zoo. But alas, I think Samuel's going to be here forever. Though it could be worse. It seems like they're feeding him. Doesn't seem like they're going to torture him or anything like that. Maybe they can take him on walks and let him get some fresh air. I mean, for the Twilight Zone, this is actually one of the better fates. Usually they just like fall down a ditch and die. And some fun facts from this episode. Rod Serling changed a couple elements from the original source story. So this was based on a story by Paul Fairman, but Rod Serling wrote the teleplay for this. In the original story, two protagonists, Markinson and Conrad. Conrad's only in the beginning, and then Markinson takes this trip to Mars alone. In this story, both of the astronauts go to Mars. And Serling also made Conrad the protagonist. For the original story, Markinson's the protagonist. Maybe because he's the one that utters the phrase "people are alike everywhere." It makes sense for the cynic to be the one to discover that this thing that his coworker astronaut said was actually true. And he also changed the phrase. It was originally "people are the same everywhere" to "people are alike all over," which sounds more philosophical and perfectly fits this Roman storyline. This would make the Greek philosopher Socrates proud. Greeks, Romans, is there really a difference between them? Of course not. And of course at the bottom, you know what we're going to get. As in many other episodes, I've noticed several props for Forbidden Planet are used. He just raided the wardrobe of Forbidden Planet, is just using these props everywhere in the interior of the astronaut's spaceship. And Rod Serling better be getting like residuals from Forbidden Planet. Use these props in like 10 episodes so far. Let's read a positive review. This person gave it a 7 out of 10. If it's an illusion, a guy can live with it. Roddy McDowall's character utters the line in my summary above upon seeing his new Martian home, but the sentiment only lasts as long as the episode. In one of those classic last-minute ending twists the Twilight Zone is noted for, astronaut Sam Conrad McDowall learns he is to remain a specimen on display rather than a welcome guest. We can't quite reconcile to the idea that the Martians would actually do that to him. Even if he was an alien, he posed no apparent threat. For all intents and purposes, lived up to the premise of the title. People are alike all over. They're not necessarily going to treat him badly, but sorry, they don't have any other humans that crash land on their little colony, so he's the only one. It's like if they found a Tyrannosaurus Rex in the rainforest. You think we wouldn't put him in the freaking zoo? Of course we'd put the Tyrannosaurus Rex in the zoo. He's the only one we have. I haven't noticed before in Rod Serling's voiceover narration how disdainful he can be about the species called man. Oh yeah, I've noticed that. Every time he talks about man, man is his own worst enemy, and man, yeah, that's 100% true. Almost to the point of contempt here, it definitely is. Not that he didn't often have good reason when making the point, it just seemed a bit out of character, the way it comes across. No, it makes sense. This is a bit of a cynical series. A moral but cynical series about the nature of man. Those flimsy, little, two-legged animals with extremely small heads. If that's the standard, then the Martians depicted here would be one of the same DNA. Yeah, I kind of like the fact that they made the Martians look like people. Kind of went with the theme. People are like all over, like, hey, they look like us, so obviously they must like me. It's like, no, they still don't like you. Science fiction writers have often theorized about how far advanced alien civilizations might be compared to our own, but the tragedy would be that they're just like us after all. Next up's episode 26, and we get to go back in time. It's called Execution. And hey, I recognize that face. Oh, look, it's Russell Johnson, the professor from Gilligan's Island, where he plays another professor called Professor Mannion. So stay tuned for Execution. And also, check out our playlist for the other series we've covered. We're doing every single episode of Black Mirror, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Of course, every single episode of Twilight Zone, Mystery Science Theater 3000. We've also done Monsters, Fear Itself, and Tales from the Dark Side. Thanks a lot.